So all Dzogchen practice, as I have repeatedly said before, boils down into recognition of the nature of mind, recognition of awareness. And how this recognition happens is to find the knowingness, which is at the basis of our mind and all mind functions all the time. So, for example, this knowingness is there with all sense perceptions, with all thinking. It's there even when being subconscious. So, for example, if you listen to those sounds of my voice or the cars, hearing of these cars, the sounds. At the basis of this hearing, there is a knowing of the hearing. This knowing is not performed or done by you or any entity. It is just a simple knowing. Similarly, when you see some object, something with your eyes, some physical thing, there is the seeing of that object, but at the basis of this seeing of the object, there is knowing of the seeing of the object. The same knowing that was there in the hearing. That same knowing, cognizant quality. Also, if you feel down into your body, like you start to become aware of your body, your attention gets to be able to scan through the body and feel the body. What happens is that you reach your attention from the headspace downwards, right? So that the body can be felt. But at the basis of this feeling of the body, there is knowing of the feeling of the body. That same knowing that was there in the hearing and in the seeing. Also, if and when there are thoughts in your mind, like inner talk, inner chatter, that knowing is there. Let's do a little experiment of this point. So in your mind, silently, start talking something to yourself, mentally talking, just telling any story, talking about any things, just saying some words. And then see how there is a knowing of this talking, knowing of this chatter. Again, the same knowing. it is there also with when having some emotions. Usually it's the negative emotions, destructive emotions that are the sticky ones, although also there can be attachment to, pleasure and the emotion that gives. So imagine that you're irritated or angry or pissed off. Nice change in the energy in the room. But, feeling this irritation, like you want to say swear words. And now, see that there is this knowing even then. Knowing of feeling an emotion. Then a couple of pointers relating to yoga of dream and sleep. Imagine that you are sleeping. Your eyes can be open or closed, however you like. But imagine that you're asleep. In sleep, you're not aware of the physical surroundings, sights and sounds from the physical surroundings, but you can have dream images, dream events. Like the mind comes from the subconscious mind, all kinds of visions arise. So imagine that these dream-like visions happen in your mind. They happen also during daytime. Just random dream images that you're not in control of in any way. Just, different things coming up. And now, recognize the knowingness again. Knowing of being in a dream. Knowing of having a dream. So the same knowingness again is there. And then, instruction for deep sleep. In deep sleep, there are no dream images. Those images and events that appear, characters or colors or imaginations that happen in dream images is gone. There's just this deep yet semi-conscious or unconscious rest. It's sort of like being at the bottom of the ocean, deep down in the ocean, just resting there against the seabed. Seabed? Nothing going on. No dream images. But then, that knowing, from being semi-conscious or unconscious, can be a knowing of that. There can be a shift to knowing of this dreamless deep sleep. So now, all of a sudden, this deep sleep that happens in the substrate consciousness, substrate mind, becomes illuminated. It's a small but very significant shift, because deep sleep is unconscious. But knowing awareness is conscious. Let's take a couple of other pointers. So let's think about exalted meditation states and a trance state. So let's imagine that we would like to go into a trance, like some kind of a highly blissful frenzy, somehow energetically powerful trance, like sort of like into a bubble state. You have all seen some kind of a footage of somebody being in a trance or going into a trance. They always have this, they kind of aim into some specific bubble where they can then be. So imagine that. And then recognize that same knowing in a trance. And then, if we think of exalted states of meditation, like somehow, very high state, like heavenly state, like being in above the clouds, in a heaven, in a golden palace somewhere. Like highly elevated, fine state of meditation. And now, recognize the knowing. knowing of being in a heavenly place. Again, that same knowing. Let's do a few more. I just come up with new ones as we're going along. Yesterday, the 6 realms were briefly mentioned. So we already, with this heavenly state, we already touched on the Deva realms, like realms of angels and things like that. How about if you imagine that you're in a place of immense suffering? Hell, torture, agony, pain, immense suffering everywhere. Yourself also suffering. Being pained horribly, being tortured, something or someone causing your pain. And then recognize the nature of mind. Knowing. And then imagine that you are a immensely powerful giant, like a mighty being. Mighty, right? Mighty. A giant who has great power, physical power, mind power, who can live thousands of years. That's a seductive bubble, isn't it? And then the knowing of that bubble. Knowing of that bubble. Knowing of this sphere of experience. Knowing of this kind of selfing. And finally, the realm of being a human being. We don't have to imagine that. But you can think of being in a human body as you are. 2 eyes, 2 ears, face, nose, mouth, your own physical appearance, your gender, your name, your accomplishments or failures, both. And then the knowing. So merely being a human being or being any of the states, mind states that we went through, they all have in common this knowing, this Buddha nature. To finish this session, let's chant the dedication of merit. May all beings receive my accumulated merit. I dedicate the merit to the refuge and to all sentient beings. Let's take a break for 15 minutes and then our dear Lama from Norway will guide Tibetan Heart Yoga. 15-minute break.